Good morning. This is an NBC News special report. NBC News has learned that disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Epstein took his own life while he was behind bars here in New York City, facing charges of sex trafficking. We want to get the very latest now from NBC News investigative correspondent Tom Winter, who is joining us by phone. Tom, what more do you know?
Peter, what we know is that at some point this morning, Bureau of Prisons and prison officials found Jeffrey Epstein in his cell. Apparently, he had hanged himself, and they called the EMS, the Fire Department of New York, EMS. He was in cardiac arrest at that time. He was transported to New York's downtown hospital, and then he was pronounced dead. It's a stunning turn. Obviously, several weeks ago, NBC News and several other outlets reported that Epstein may have made some sort of an attempt on his life, although officials at the time and later upon investigating it were wondering if it was more of an effort to get attention or perhaps to get better conditions for himself. Obviously, that has radically changed with this news. It comes following a day where more documents were unsealed in a civil proceeding in New York, painting an even clearer picture of what some of his victims allege and what they said. Excuse me. And on top of that, Peter, it's just an incredible turn. This is somebody who kind of had gotten off easy from a judicial standpoint. Many people believe back in the mid-2000s when he was able to escape federal charges and faced only a single count in a state case tied to sexual abuse. He was indicted by a federal grand jury. He was arrested in July and faced charges by federal prosecutors here in New York who were keen to move forward with a case that featured a number of New York victims and more allegations from back in that time period, 2002 to 2005. And now they're not going to be able to go forward with that case. And this morning, Jeffrey Epstein is dead.
And Tom, to be clear, it was just a matter of weeks ago, as you noted, in what was either a suicide attempt or perhaps an effort, as law enforcement officials told us at the time, to try to fake an attack on him, that Epstein was put under suicide watch that followed that incident where there were marks found on his neck. He was found injured in the fetal position on the ground in his cell. This is going to raise a lot of new questions, specifically how something like this could happen while Epstein was in federal custody.
Well, you're absolutely right, Peter, and what you described was exactly as we knew it at the time. It's going to raise significant questions, and it's part of the reporting and some of the information that we're going to try to gather here this morning. We're hoping to get a press release from the Bureau of Prisons, which oversees federal prisoners and federal inmates. So we're trying to get some more details about that. But yes, in light of that incident, and in light of everything going on and the fact that he is a very high-profile defendant, he is somebody who had friends, one current president and a former president at one point he had been friends with. He's somebody who allegations were made more clear yesterday that some of his victims say that they were told to have sex with two former politicians, one a sitting U.S. senator and one a former governor. So for somebody who's this high profile, facing the type of charges that he was facing, and given that incident that you described, serious questions are going to be asked as to how we came to the point where he was able to die by suicide here.
Tom Winter, again, thank you very much. Once again, NBC News has now learned that disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life while he was in jail here in Manhattan, in New York City. Some of you will go back to today. Others will return to your local programming. I'm Peter Alexander. This has been an NBC News special report.
Disturbing allegations about accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and members of his social circle. Those allegations come from newly unsealed documents from a now settled court case against Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. A woman claims that Maxwell groomed her to be a sex slave to Epstein and was trafficked to some of his most powerful associates. Among those associates, a former senator and a governor. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Tonight, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal is growing. Bombshell accusations point a finger at some rather notable names. 2,000 pages of documents were unsealed in Manhattan federal court related to a defamation case brought by Virginia Roberts Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell, an Epstein associate. In court filings, Giuffre says she became an underage teen sex slave for Epstein, who was later directed by Maxwell and Epstein to have sex with many, quote, powerful men, including numerous prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, and other world leaders. Among those Giuffre names in sworn depositions, British royalty Prince Andrew, former governor and UN ambassador Bill Richardson, and the influential former senator from Maine, George Mitchell. All three men have strongly denied the allegations. In statements today, both Mitchell and Richardson say they never met Miss Giuffre, and these allegations are false. In an interview with the Miami Herald, Giuffre describes how she was trained.
The training started immediately. Give Jeffrey what he wants. A lot of this training came from Ghislaine herself. And being a woman, it kind of surprises you that a woman could actually let stuff like that happen, but not only let it happen, but to groom you into doing it. I was young, I was scared, I knew these people were powerful. I didn't know what would happen if I said no. I didn't know what would happen if I reported them.
Maxwell has consistently denied the allegations, and in court filings, Maxwell's lawyers wrote that Giuffre had utterly failed to substantiate her patently incredible claims of being trafficked to well-known men. Jeffrey Epstein, charged with conspiracy and sex trafficking, remains under suicide watch in a New York City jail awaiting trial.
Lindsay Davis joins us now live in studio. And Lindsay, tonight there is a real possibility other Epstein associates could face criminal charges?
That's right, Tom. There's an ongoing investigation into possible accomplices to Epstein's crimes, and there are still thousands of documents in the civil suit that remain under seal. There is an active effort to make those documents public, Tom.
All right, Lindsay, thank you for that.
It's simply this. Number one, you mentioned about Alexander Acosta and saying you don't believe what he's saying, so he'll try to save his butt.
Right.
I agree with you. But the statement he made about Epstein being intelligence was actually not made when the heat was on him. It was actually made prior to his confirmation hearing to become labor secretary. He was asked in an interview by the Trump administration when they were vetting him, saying, is this whole Epstein thing going to cause us problems? He said, it's not going to cause us problems because I was told to back off, that Epstein was above my pay grade, and that he's some sort of intelligence.
Great point.
So it wasn't when he was under the seat. That's important. Second thing is this, this Maxwell connection is kind of shocking. If you really take a look at what's going on with it, Robert Maxwell, the billionaire from the UK who owned a newspaper empire there have been allegations and claims for many years. He died in 1991, by the way, in a completely bizarre way. He was standing naked on his yacht named after his daughter, and then jumped in or fell into the ocean near the Canary Islands and either drowned or had a heart attack, and there isn't even a clear cause of death for him. The claims have been made over the years that he was Mossad. In fact, the British Foreign Office believed that he was absolutely a double agent, and they believed that he was Mossad. So if he was Mossad, possibly, it's also possible that his daughter is connected to Mossad, and that's how she's connected to Epstein, because the two have been together for years, but don't seem to have any relationship other than her being his fixer, which is a very strange relationship for the daughter of a billionaire to take.
Adding something to what you're talking about right now, Michelle had mentioned to me Maxwell was essentially his only partner, client.
Right, so the daughter of Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, pretty much acted as this recruiter and even sometimes a participant in this sexual abuse. But I think Ben is absolutely hitting the nail on the head. We have this father of his partner in crime with very strong ties to Mossad, who's been accused of being an Israeli agent by many journalists, including Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh. And in a book called Robert Maxwell, Israel's Super Spy, that actually really details both his life and death, a very strong case is made for the fact that he was actually assassinated by the Mossad after he became a liability.
All right, let me push back on both of you here a little bit. Could it be that Maxwell just happened to be one of his many clients, as, can happen in most cases?
Are you talking about the daughter?
So I'm talking about both the daughter and Maxwell, whoever it was that he's being tied to.
No, because Maxwell... Okay, go ahead, Ben. Yeah, sorry.
To you.
Well, no, I was going to say, so Robert Maxwell was not a client in any way. But here's something interesting, Rick, that because I know how you like to go down this rabbit hole, right? Think about this. Robert Maxwell, after he died, he is a British citizen, was given a state funeral in Israel. The Prime Minister got up and said that he had done much more for Israel than anyone could ever know this day during his eulogy. So Robert Maxwell was clearly tied in ways to the state of Israel that go far beyond what the average person would be, even the average billionaire. He was connected very, very heavily to that. As for his daughter, in terms of her involvement, again, her relationship to Epstein is so important because, again, here's a woman who seems to go around and recruit these girls for him and gets nothing out of it, other than to be like kind of his partner in crime. And then last thing I'd say about this, the black book that Epstein has the names of so many, and not just in the United States. We're talking about U.S. politicians. We're talking about, again, his relationship with people like Prince Andrew. The king of Saudi Arabia, King bin Salman, is in that book. So he's connected to people all over the world.
Listen,
and people with whom the Israelis would want to connect.
I read the New Yorker today, Gabe Sherman's piece. I saw some of the new names that are out there. We are out of time. Wish we could go, but I'm just going to ask you yes or no. Michelle first. Is he going to sing?
No.
Ben?
If he sings, I don't think they give him time to. He'll also fall off a boat someplace.
Wow.